Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the one, the only Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock, bottlers of great Pepsi products. And tonight, just good old-fashioned ice-cold Pepsi. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. And Rodney, we begin tonight where you usually like to begin, and that's with football. We have got spring football, and it is flying by already. 1/3 of the way through. 5 practices out of 15 in the books. You know, I was talking on the sports last week, Rodney. I really think this is Coach Saban's favorite time of year. First and foremost, he's a teacher, and in spring you can really do some teaching. You can work on fundamentals, and you can really set the expectation level for your football team. I think he's enjoying himself, and I think he's got a good football team. Your impression so far from what you've seen of Alabama?
I think you're right in terms of enjoying himself. Gary's got a lot of talent to work with and to teach and to do what he likes to do. And you know, as you mentioned, Gary, a lot of athletes out there. Obviously, there's some holes to fill. We've talked about those quite a bit already. Left tackle offensively is one of the bigger issues we know, and I know we're going to talk more about that. But again, it's a team, when you look at it defensively, Gary, could be a loaded squad. You know,
2 years ago, Alabama made all the plays that win the national championship. Last year, nobody was happy losing 3 games, but in 2 of those games, LSU and Auburn, play here or there, they win those. And even with the loss to South Carolina, they win those games, they play for the national, or they go to the SEC championship game for a rematch with South Carolina, win that and play for the national championship. So this is a program that's on the cusp of it every year. Based on what you've seen, and I know it's 5 practices in the spring, do you think this team has the components potentially to make those plays that will put it at a championship level?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I kind of thought, and it's just me, is one of the biggest issues on the team will be not from a talent perspective, but just from a leadership and in terms of experience. I mean, when you lose a quarterback who's been through the SEC like Greg McElroy had, and the experience he had and the things he had done, I think certainly that is the big question mark offensively. But again, you know, Alabama's not going to ask their quarterback to make things happen. He's just going to have to manage the game, and that's the thing that these 2 guys, Phillip Sims, A.J. McCarron, are going to have to learn to do, is just manage the team, minimize mistakes.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the quarterback position, because obviously everybody's interested in that. It is the biggest story of spring practice for the Crimson Tide, and probably will be going into fall as well. Now, who will take over for the aforementioned Greg McElroy? Will it be Mobile's A.J. McCarron, who has a little bit of experience, or Virginia's Phillip Sims, who has none at the college level? Now, this weekend, Nick Saban gave us a progress report on both players.
I think both young quarterbacks, you know, sort of did a nice job the first day. Second day, they started getting a little overload. Third day, they got total overload. So they're trying to sort it out. And I think there's certainly a process that they're going to go through in terms of, we're probably installing things a little more quickly than what might be comfortable for them.
All right, Ronnie, the question now is between Phillip Sims and A.J. McCarron, is there a clear leader at this point?
I mean, we're not going to know anything, Gary, probably until the week of the first game. Wouldn't surprise me if it went that far. But I think, again, I've said it before, I think early in the season I wouldn't be surprised if you see both quarterbacks play. I don't know what the rotation would be, but it would not surprise me. I think they're obviously both very, very talented. I think it's going to be a very close race.
Now, they're the leaders. McCarron has played some. Sims has been on the team for a year, even though he was redshirted. But there are some other guys that are taking some snaps. Blake Sims, still don't know that he'll play quarterback full-time, but he's there. You've got the freshman out of Tampa Plant, Philip Ely. Any chance that those guys can factor in?
Well, you would, and again, I say this respectfully, you would certainly hope not, because you look at Blake Sims, he's a guy that's probably there as, well, Nick Saban said it, he's there as an emergency situation. They're trying to keep him, you know, in the mix, learn the position, because they only have 3 quarterbacks on scholarship, and again, he gives them that 4th guy. And Philip Ely, a true freshman, you certainly don't want to have to play him. But A.J. McCarron, Phillip Sims, a lot of high expectations for both those guys.
Well, we know this, Rodney, regardless of who the quarterback is, he won't be as fortunate as Greg McElroy was for 2 years in having Julio Jones to throw to. Jones is out of here. You've got Hanks, you've got Mays, you've got some other talented guys, but replacing a surefire first-round NFL draft pick is going to be tough to do. But these Alabama receivers think they've got the right stuff to get it done.
I feel like we have something to prove. Me, Hanks, and myself, Gibson, we well capable of filling the void. I mean, Julio will be well missed, but I feel like we're capable of making things happen for the offense too.
You know Julio, I mean, he's just a freak out there. You know, it's going to be hard to replace a guy like that, but I feel like we're still going to be able to get the job done without him.
Rodney, no disrespect to any of the receivers. There's some good players on this team, but there is no Julio Jones. In fact, nobody else in America can have a Julio Jones. Those kind of players don't come around but ever so often. Talk about this receiving core. I guess it starts with Mays and Hanks, but who else might step up and at least replace some of that production that Julio gave Alabama?
Well, you know, we've talked about Kevin Norwood, the rising sophomore from Mississippi, and, you know, the things that he showed as a redshirt freshman last year in some of his time. And, you know, he had a great play against Penn State. He's shown in some scrimmages, Gary, throughout his 2 years here that he's got some ability to make big plays, make things happen. And I think Kirk Cignetti, before he left, thought that Kevin Norwood had a lot of ability, was going to make a lot of plays at some point. And, you know, he's a guy that certainly comes to mind. DeAndrew White's another one. Kenny Bell has been here a couple of years. Both those guys, White and Bell, have a lot of speed. Keywan Malone, I know I'm probably forgetting someone, but they've got some guys there. It's just a matter of, you know, how they develop. And I think, you know, we'll talk about it later, but I think they may have a guy coming in that could really help.
You know, years ago when you had 115 on scholarship, 105, you know, even 95, there wasn't so much pressure on young players to come in and play early. And in those days, most of them didn't come in until the fall. Now, there are a lot of players that come in the spring, some from junior college, some straight from high school. Alabama with 9 early enrollees all going through spring. Let's talk about some of these guys. Rodney, Nick Saban's already said he's expecting several of them to contribute.
Well, you know, you'd certainly hope so. There you see D. Hart, the freshman, and again, we've talked about him so much. You know, not only as a running back, Gary, but, you know, we've talked about his ability as a return man, maybe a punt return guy, and I've talked about it, how he kind of reminds me a little bit of Javier Arenas when he gets his hands on the ball, and, you know, I think he certainly has that kind of ability.
You know, when Andre Smith left, everybody said who'll play left tackle. James Carpenter stepped right in from junior college. They never missed a beat. Now Carpenter leaves. Can Aaron Douglas do the same thing replacing him?
Well, you'd certainly hope so. Again, I mean, he's a very talented kid. He has experience in the SEC. Started at right tackle as a redshirt freshman at Tennessee 2 years ago. Played left tackle at Arizona Western Community College last year. Again, he's coming in, getting acclimated to the system. He needs to get bigger. He's got a lot of good height on him, got a good frame, but probably needs to get a little bit bigger in the offseason. But, you know, Gary, again, he is very, very athletic.
You know, when nose guards are talked about at Alabama for years to come, they're going to talk about Terrence Cody. Under Nick Saban, he kind of set the standard, almost a pop icon. Jesse Williams, another junior college player from Arizona Western. I don't know that he's Terrence Cody, but he does seem to bring some of the same type of size and athleticism to the position.
Well, and you look at him, really, you know, Jesse Williams is probably more of an athletic guy, probably somewhere, and I don't want to compare him to Marcel Darius, though there are some that say he has that kind of potential. But, you know, he's working outside mostly, I think, right now at defensive end. Certainly could play some, may play some on the inside. But, you know, he's a very athletic guy, Gary. And but he hasn't played football that long. Let's be clear on that.
That's just a look at several of the newcomers. There are some others that could make an impact as well. Well, still to come on TITV, could the son of an NFL legend soon make his way to Alabama? Maybe he's the next Julio Jones. We'll talk about Deron Carter later on in our recruiting segment. But up next, the Alabama basketball team plays in the NIT Final Four tonight against another team that got shunned by the NCAA Selection Committee, the Colorado Buffaloes. We'll discuss. We'll also take your phone calls and get to your emails. The number to reach us, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us at TITV@WVUATV.com, because you're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV on a Tuesday night alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris. Football recruiting in just a little bit, but first we got to talk about this Alabama men's basketball team. What a great season it's been. What an exciting athletic team. You know, I've made my feelings clear on the fact that I think they got absolutely hoodwinked by not getting in the NCAA tournament. It's a farce that you can go 12-4 in the SEC and not get in the tournament. It's a joke, and I don't care if they win the NIT. That's not going to change my opinion. But having said that, they didn't cry about it. Rodney, they got into the NIT. They played 3 home games. They took care of business. And now they move on to New York City to Madison Square Garden tonight to play another team that probably should have been in the big dance. Colorado. Should be a great basketball game. And this Alabama team, I tell you, they're full of confidence right now.
Yeah, they are. You know, and Gary, we talked about it a little bit last week. You know, nobody had more, I guess you could say, to reason to be down or dejected or whatever than maybe the Alabama players, but they certainly haven't played like it in the NIT. And again, I think that goes back to the coaching.
Well, it's a championship that can be won, a national championship. It's not the NCAA tournament, although at one time the NIT was probably bigger than the NCAA championship, but it is a national championship, and hopefully if Alabama can go up there and win it, or even if they don't win it, this will propel them to a big season next year in 2001. Mark Gottfried's team went up there. The next year they won the SEC regular season championship. I certainly think this Alabama team may have that kind of potential next year as well. Colorado, a very fine team. Wichita State and Washington State playing in the other semi right now. I just have a feeling that whoever wins the Alabama Colorado game tonight will win the NIT championship. Well, coming up next, Rodney has his weekly recruiting roundup, and he's got some good stuff for you. Some really exciting players that Alabama's in on. You'll want to stay tuned for that. And also, we'd love to hear your opinion tonight, answer some questions for you. Whatever's on your mind, 205-348-9882 is the number. Give us a ring. Tider Insider Television is coming back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Titv, and it's time to talk football recruiting, and I've got the man, the living legend himself, Rodney Orr, and you've got some great updates this week on your site. We're going to talk about some of these prospects. Let's start it out with a very interesting prospect. Really, you broke the news on your site about Duron Carter. Not that Alabama was interested, but the fact that I think we could say Alabama's the leader right now for Chris Carter's son.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear, Gary. Duron Carter was at Ohio State. Many of you may remember he was an outstanding recruit out of Fort Lauderdale, St. Thomas Aquinas a couple of years ago. Went to Ohio State, played there as a freshman, transferred to Coffeyville this past season, had 44 catches, 690 yards, 10 touchdowns. Now he's looking for a place to play next season. He'll visit Alabama this weekend with his dad, Chris Carter, the former NFL great wide receiver for the Vikings. And, I think right now, Gary, Duron Carter's leaning pretty strongly to Alabama over Miami and LSU.
Well, let me put you on the spot a little bit. If the visit goes well this weekend, you think he might make the commitment?
Yeah, I think if the visit goes well, it wouldn't surprise me if he made a commitment fairly soon.
All right, let's stay in the state of Florida, even though Duron Carter. Oh, go ahead.
Well, let's be clear though. He would be here in June to play next year, so that would be big. To add a receiver.
So he'll be on the field in 2011. Let's stay in the Sunshine State. Marvin Bracey. Out of Orlando, another football hotbed, and this is another one of those kids, not very big, but quick and athletic, and in the modern day game, the way it's played, spreading the field, he's that prototypical type wide receiver.
Can fly. Yeah. Gary, he's the second fastest human under 17 in the world. 10-1, 900 meters at 16 years old. Can fly. Alabama, Texas A&M, LSU, Florida State. He told me those were his top 4 last week, and I think that probably Florida State might be the team to beat, but Alabama's certainly in on.
We have talked about so many quarterbacks with famous uncles and dads and so forth and so on. Let's talk about another one, Gunnar Kiel. You mentioned him before out of Indiana, but again, he's got the measurable, 6'4", 215.
Yeah, I think we've done 3 or 4 stories over the last year on Gunnar Kiel. His uncle was. A lot of Alabama fans remember Blair Kiel came in here as a freshman in 1980 at Legion Field and beat Alabama 7-0. That's his uncle, and he's kind of following in those footsteps. Gunnar Kiel, some people think he might be the best high school quarterback in the country. Was here yesterday, in fact, on an unofficial visit. And there's going to be a lot of competition, obviously, to pull Notre Dame and his ties there, and with Kelly as the coach and that offense. But we'll see what happens.
Quarterback's certainly important, no doubt about it, but the way Alabama still plays offense, even in the modern day era of the spread, there's an emphasis on running backs always with the Crimson Tide, and Beniquez Brown might be the best in Alabama this year.
He might be, but I think, if he came to Alabama, he would probably be a safety, or at least start off there. He's 6'2", you see his size, 208 pounds. He was here this past weekend, had a great visit. A lot of people thought going into that visit Auburn may have the lead, but Beniquez told me over the weekend that after his visit to Alabama that he just had such a great time that Alabama now had at least a slight lead over Auburn.
And our final prospect to talk about tonight, one of these big, strong, fast, athletic guys. These 6'5", 260 guys that runs these 4.7, 4.8 40s are freakish to me, but Jeremy Liggins is one of them.
Yeah, and he's probably faster than that, to be honest with you. And this past year he threw for over 1,700, rushed for over 1,500, could play a lot of positions, tight end, defensive end, jack linebacker, but he's also an excellent quarterback, and he stood out at Alabama's camp last summer, and he certainly impressed, from the word is that he impressed them enough that you know, he would get a look. No matter where he goes, Gary, he wants to start out at quarterback, and Alabama would certainly give him that look. I think Alabama's a leader right now. A lot of big schools in on him as well.
Well, Nick Saban had one in Jamarcus Russell. It was 6'6" and 260 pounds. We saw what Cam Newton did last year at Auburn. So being 250, 260 in this day and age certainly doesn't keep you from playing quarterback. Hey, all the time people are saying, I can't ever get through. Well, we've got lines open right now, so no excuses. Pick up the phone. Give us a ring, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Lines are open now. Get through with a comment or a question for Rodney on Tider Insider TV. We're going to start off tonight with our good buddy CB, who's always watching and always ready to dial in. CB, what's going on, my friend?
Everything's lovely. Brother, I tell you, baseball team doing good. The attendance is a little down. I tell you, we need family. It's a family game. It's a wonderful game, family and kids. And if they do something on the weekend about them concession prices, a man might can bring his family in there. You take 4 or 5 kids to concession stand, they take half your check. Lord, we need to help them children. I know fat old man like me, children and family.
I hear you, CB. Well, you're right about the baseball team being a surprise, though. And I'm, you know, nothing else, Rodney. You know me, I'm honest. I didn't think this team was going to be very good at all. Losing the entire starting infield from a year ago. I mean, I just didn't see where the run production was going to come from. But the starting pitching's been good. They've shortened the game with the starting pitchers getting late in the game. Then they brought in Jonathan Smart, who's closed things down. And the top of the lineup's been pretty good. And now that middle of the lineup started producing some runs. And you know, they're 5-1 in the SEC so far. So I am shocked. But CB's right. Right now, not a lot of people are going out to watch because I think people are a little surprised. But if they keep winning, we know how attendance is. You keep winning, fans are going to come.
Did CB miss anything there?
No, he covered it all. And hey, CB, you have to call the concession people about the hot dog prices. Nothing I can do about that, but your complaint is noted. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more of your phone calls, 205-348-WVUA phone calls. Phone lines are open for phone calls right now. Give us a ring. We're coming back right after this. Well, if you notice, once again tonight, Rodney and I outfitted in beautiful shirts from the Locker Room, home of the original elephant wear. The Locker Room located on the University Strip since 1964. That's 47 years. Not as old as Rodney, but as old as me. But I tell you this, they will hook you up with all the original elephant wear, plus other fine men's apparel at the Locker Room. Go by Monday through Saturday. See Rush, Alex, and the good folks there, or look them up on the web at www.locker-room.biz. It's the Locker Room, a Tuscaloosa tradition since 1964. Let's go back to the phones and talk with Dale in Moundville. Dale, welcome into the program.
Hey, guys. Just wondering if y'all could go over some of the recruits that we got coming in for next year that Anthony Grant's signed, and see about Trevor Lacey. I'd like to talk about Trevor Lacey, where you think he might go.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Dale. First of all, he's already signed 4 players, all of whom are outstanding prospects. Let's start with the 2 in-state players, Levi Randolph, Rodney Cooper, both around 6'5", 6'6", but they're not inside players. They're perimeter players. They can handle, they can shoot. I really think they're going to help Alabama in the area that it's really weak, and that's perimeter shooting. You got Musa Gai coming in, a junior college player. I think he'll have 3 years, though. He didn't play this past year up in Illinois. He's a 7-footer, a big guy. You know, how good a player is he? We're going to have to wait and see. But another player I'm really excited about, Nick Jacob, 6'8", 250, out of Atlanta. Typical Southeastern Conference low post player, big, physical, can post up, can play with his, facing the basket as well. He's a really talented player. And, of course, you mentioned Trevor Lacey. He'd be the cherry on the top, one of the great point guard / shooting guard combo players in the country. Alabama, Auburn, and Kentucky for him. We'll just have to wait and see. He's going to announce here very soon, I think maybe around the 12th or 13th of next month. Let's go to Jasper and talk with Jimmy. Welcome into the program. Go ahead.
6'8", 250, out of Atlanta.
Jimmy, turn your TV down. You'll have a lot better luck with us. You there?
Okay.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm wanting to know about the status of Robbie Green for next year.
Well, it's a good question, Jimmy. And, as far as we know, certainly Nick Saban hasn't either decided or he hasn't let us know as of yet. So we'll see what happens. Of course, for those who don't know, was announced last week that Robbie Green, the safety who's coming off a year-long suspension, has been suspended again and has been out of spring practice. So, who knows? We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, we will. It's a good area, though. With or without Green, safety is a good position for Alabama. Well, coming up, Alabama pitcher Kelsey Dunn takes her shot in the batter's box for the first time ever. We'll have that story when Tider Insider TV continues. Bama baseball's been on a roll. Josh Rosecrans been on a roll at the plate. He's the SEC Player of the Week. The Tide's ranked this week in all the polls. They're playing UAB tonight over at Regions Park. We'll have the highlights for you tonight at 10 o'clock on our newscast. So make sure and join us for that. Well, Alabama softball pitcher Kelsey Dunn Won her 100th career game Sunday afternoon. That is an accomplishment. But Saturday, if you can believe it or not, was even more special for Dunn. It was Kelsey Dunn Day, and she started in the circle and picked up a victory, number 99 of her career, as Bama rolled 12-3 over Arkansas.
That one up.
For the first time in her career, she also went to the plate and had an official at bat. She popped out to the Arkansas third baseman, who made a nice play right in front of the Alabama dugout. Still, though, she got to hit, and head coach Patrick Murphy proved that even begrudgingly, he is a man of his word.
Had batting practice in Tennessee Monday. It was a fun night. Skip, of course, didn't participate. He was Mr. Grumpy. But all the support staff hit. And when like the bus driver and Van and Allie and Skip and the managers, they all get to hit. Nick Seiler, the trainer, hit a home run. Kelsey's, can I take some swings? And I always let her take some swings too. Well, I gave her 3 pitches and I said, if you hit a home run, I'll let you hit on your senior day. And damned if she didn't on the second pitch, hit a bomb, almost at the railroad tracks in Tennessee, and everybody was like, what's he gonna do? So today was the reward.
I don't think we'll see her to play it again this year, though. That was a one-time thing. All right, it's dinner time. This week we're headed to the Pottery Grill. Gonna get some of that great barbecue there in Northport. Come out and join us if you like. And remember, if you missed any part of tonight's show, you can catch it anytime at WVUATV.com. Our John Huddleston will have it posted there later this evening. So thanks for watching Tider Insider TV. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. We'll see you again next week. Have a great evening, everybody.